Welcome to the 𝗧𝗶𝗺𝗀𝘀 podcast, where the cosmos meet the cards and the mundane becomes magical. I'm your guide, 𝗧𝗫𝗀, and in this episode, we'll cover the astrological transits and tarot for the first half of May 2025, with a part 2 episode coming mid-month. Now, let's fill your cup up until you're soul full of it. Hello and welcome back. Today I'm flying solo for the first time, actually, since the very beginning of 2025. And I'm excited for us to chat one-on-one and take a deeper look at how the transits and tarot are showing us the way forward in this year of massive shifts and constant change. Now, before we dive into the month of May, let's reflect on and recap some of the major astrological moments that unfolded in April. So we kicked off last month with Mercury stationing direct in Pisces, helping lift the fog from our thinking and streamline our communications at least a little bit more than they had been in the weeks prior back in March. Mercury also re-entered Aries halfway through April, which was pushing us back into more bold, direct conversations, cutting through the haze and making it easier to say what we mean and mean what we say. Venus also stationed direct mid-month and joined Mercury by re-entering Aries at the end of April, keeping the collective focus on themes around love, desire, and personal values with a sense of fiery cardinal sign passion in the mix. After her journey through elusive Piscean waters that featured 3 conjunctions with reality-checking Saturn, Venus's return to Aries was a necessary return to self-prioritization and setting boundaries and speaking up about both our needs and our desires within our relationships. Meanwhile, Mars left Cancer at last, where it had lingered twice as long as is typical due to its retrograde cycle, and then re-entered Leo on April 17th. That shift was a big one, and it may have felt a little bit reminiscent of late November and early December of 2024, because that was when Mars was last in Leo, reigniting creative momentum and a desire to not only be seen and heard, but also to be and feel celebrated. We also moved through a Libra full moon on April 12th, which continued to keep relationships, balance, and boundaries center stage, inviting us to consider who's been giving and who's been taking, and where we find ourselves tipping the scales in our own relationships. And the Taurus new moon that closed out the month of April on the 27th was more of a stabilizing moment. It brought about ripe manifestation-worthy magic, and that earthy lunation was a reminder to root into what we want to build long-term and what changes we must make in order for the fruits of our labors to turn into a harvest with time. I think it's fair to say that April was the backdrop of many important conversations and shifts in our connections. And with all of that cosmic ground covered, let's tap the tarot for some guidance this month by talking through the 𝗧𝗶𝗺𝗀𝘀 tarot spread, starting with the wisdom, or the rose, at the center of the spread, for which we pulled the card, the Page of Wands. Now, the Page of Wands depicts an individual who is standing in a barren desert, wearing a feathered hat and holding a flowering wand, gazing upward with eagerness and possibility. This page represents the spark of inspiration, a youthful openness to explore, and a deep call to begin something new without needing to know the outcome. This card sets the tone for the energy of May. We're at the edge of something brand new, and we're beginning to reassess where our energy is going and whether or not that's where it should be going. The Page of Wands is the inner voice saying, let's give it a go, choosing to be courageously curious. And we are ready to learn new ways to utilize our energy, working smarter, not harder, and taking breaks as needed along the way. Next up, we have the Six of Swords, which is where we are wanting to focus our attention. And this is the Thorns, which is crossing the center or the rose of the spread. In this imagery from the 𝗧𝗏𝗺𝗀𝗀 tarot deck, we see a cloaked figure who is ferried across still waters, leaving behind more turbulent waves headed for calmer shores. This card speaks to the intersection of emotions and intellect, because the emotions is the water, the intellect is the swords, and it's all in the midst of transition because these people are in, of course, a boat. And it also speaks to how grief can come along with any decision that we make to walk away from what's familiar but perhaps unfit for our soul's evolution, in favor of what's unknown but necessary to explore in order to continue growing and expanding. This card is the cross of the spread, and that means it's posing a challenge or it's a current emotional focus, an area for us, of course, to put our attention towards. I think this card provides a really nice visual of the Scorpio full moon energy that we'll be talking about later in this episode, because it depicts that we are leaving something behind. There is an emotional cost of moving toward what's yet to become, just as there is an emotional cost of clinging to what was. The Six of Swords aligns beautifully with Scorpio's deep waters and Taurus's desire for peace, saying gently, hey, you don't need to take all of that with you. It's okay to mourn what you're moving on from, while simultaneously paddling your boat further away from it and more towards yourself. Then we have the Eight of Wands in the basis or root position. The imagery of this card depicts 8 wands flying through the air in alignment, fast-moving and unobstructed. This is a card that features no people, but instead has us focused entirely on momentum, messages, and forward action. As the basis or root, this is what's underneath the surface this month, an energetic push for movement. It ties into the recent and upcoming planetary shifts into pioneering Aries, as well as the fiery Mars in Leo. Things are picking up speed after months of retrograde cycles and emotional intensity. And it's not Groundhog's Day anymore. We know that a fear of the unknown has never stopped time from ticking by, so it's time now to take a note from Nike and just do it. This card is also a reminder of the Uranian influence that's been brewing this Taurus season, bringing to the forefront choices that conflict with comfort, insights that invite new opportunities, and changes that threaten the status quo in favor of expanding our everyday resources. The energy is rising beneath our feet, and this card reminds us that change is not only coming, it is already in motion. Last but certainly not least, we have the Page of Cups, and this is in our guidance or sun position of the spread. The imagery of this card shows a dreamy figure who holds a cup that has a fish popping out of it. This is symbolizing surprise, intuition, and engaging with our emotions as well as our creativity. The Page of Cups is gentle, imaginative, and emotionally intelligent. As our guidance, this card invites us to lead with softness, curiosity, and a willingness to allow ourselves to see our feelings in a new light. It's emotionally rich, compassionate, and it reminds us that sensitivity is a strength, not a weakness. It's also a reminder that softness can guide us, even when the world does feel harsh. And our imaginations are tools of manifestation. And if we lean into the creativity and playfulness of life, in the midst of all of the bullshit, we can heal parts of ourselves that we may otherwise never truly get to know. I really see the Page of Cups as being a card of inner child work, because it's a permission slip to do the fun but maybe not typical thing. It is a permission slip to take a different journey to get to the same destination that you've been to over and over again, but to see it through a different lens. And I really feel that from the imagery of that little fish popping out of that cup to say, hey, surprise, it's me. Bet you didn't think there was a fish in here, but turns out there is. And I just love that. And this card, and I think with this spread as well, it's very page focused, right? We only pulled 4 cards, and 2 of them, the beginning and the end of what I've talked about here, are both pages. So I really think that a big theme for us in the month of May is learning. And something about learning that I don't think is talked about enough is that learning inherently involves trying and failing. And it's only through trying and failing that we do typically learn. It's not often that you start something new and you learn something fresh and you're super good at it. If you're one of those people who just naturally picks things up and things come easy to you, hell yeah, I hope you're also a teacher. We need people like you. But for the rest of us, myself included, it doesn't always come so easy. In fact, it can be really hard, and ego death-y it can be really challenging to learn new things and to have the courage to say, you know what, I'm going to give this a go, even though I got a pretty strong feeling I'm going to be pretty fucking bad at it. And it's through that courage that sometimes we surprise ourselves with, well, I'm actually not that bad at it, or I am that bad at it, but I still did it. I gave it my all, and I feel really proud now. And it's through that humility and it's through that willingness to try that I think we build a lot of our confidence, and the type of confidence that can't be taken from you because it was homegrown within you. And I think that that is part of the wisdom coming through this tarot spread as I'm looking at these cards and talking about it with you. That's what's coming through for me. So I'm curious to hear, of course, what's coming up for you as I'm talking about this. And I guess this is a great time for me to mention I do have an Instagram. That's really the only way that you can connect with me currently, is at @soulfulofit on Instagram. My DMs are where messages typically go to die, so I apologize in advance if I don't respond to it for an extended period of time. But with all of that said, that is the tarot for the first half of May. And now is the perfect time to transition, got it, into, of course, the transits for the first half of May, starting with May the 4th be with us as Pluto begins its annual retrograde on Sunday, May 4th at 0 degrees Aquarius. This slow burn transit speaks to the power of the people to quietly and consistently transform the systems of oppression that have stunted innovation and opportunity for the 99% in favor of the greed of the 1%. When Pluto dips back into Capricorn later this year, we'll revisit collective themes around institutions, including government, and how they interact with technology and social hierarchies, which is very, of course, Aquarian. Pluto's retrograde, which is going to last until October 13th, is subtle but potent. We can think of it as a deep dive beneath the surface of collective movements. The revolution will likely be televised because everybody's got a camera in their pocket now, but the Underground Railroad equivalent of the 21st century isn't likely to catch headlines until much later down the road, when many, many years have passed and many, many moon phases have come and gone. And on a more personal level, you can consider where you have Aquarius in your chart as an arena where you're being invited to reclaim your power. And that is going to be true not just for this Pluto retrograde, but for all the Pluto retrogrades that will happen annually for the next 20 years in the sign of Aquarius. Flash forward just about a week later on Saturday, May 10th, Mercury will move into earthy, steadfast Taurus, slowing down our mental processes and our communication. After the fiery Aries Mercury energy that we've had a double dip into, this transit invites us to think practically and to speak intentionally and honor the power of the pause, knowing that not every thought needs to be said out loud, and that the scenic route offers views that the quickest route can't always conjure. Mercury's 3-week trip through Taurus is also a great time for financial planning, creative output, especially in physical ways like building or gardening, and also having conversations that would benefit from more of a calm and steady grounding interactive environment. So this is a time for us to start slowing it down a little bit, keeping some of those thoughts to ourselves, sleeping on it whenever appropriate, and really being methodical about what we're communicating and what the outcome of that communication actually is. Very Tauresian. What is the 3D physical impact of the words coming out of my mouth? That is the energy, that is the potency, that is the magic of Mercury in Taurus. And then coming right after that, we have the full moon on Monday, May 12th at 9:55 a.m. Pacific time, which is taking place at 22 degrees of Scorpio. So this is going to be one of the most emotionally intense lunations of the year, especially following last month's Libra full moon, where Libra seeks to cultivate harmony. Scorpio won't settle for anything less than depth and truth. And full moons, of course, often bring about a culmination, and this is one that is all about revealing emotional truths, shining a light on power struggles, as well as hidden motivations. So when the sun is in Taurus, saying something along the lines of, "Look at what we've built," the moon in Scorpio might answer, "Yes, and do you know what lies beneath it?" Because Scorpio and Taurus are sitting at opposite ends of the axis of resources, the second house, the eighth house, speaking two truths that coexist despite their contradiction, which is that there can be benefits to holding on, and there can also be benefits in letting go. Yet with the sun conjunct Uranus, which we're also going to talk a little bit more about here in a second, it's worth considering which actions are coming from a place of comfort and which actions could lead to an outcome that is yet to be seen, which is something that we were also talking about in the April transits and tarot episodes, as Uranus will not remain in fixed earth sign Taurus much longer. Meanwhile, the moon in Scorpio is supported by a trine to Saturn in Pisces, which is whispering to us as we climb the mountains of our lives that if we choose to engage with disruption to the status quo, as Uranus often invites us to, and we take the leap into the great unknown, that we will find our cheerleaders on the way down to sturdy Tauresian ground. That perhaps we are capable of doing uncomfortable things, and that maybe the letting go, should we choose to do it in whichever way is needed in our own lives, be it subtle as a candle or thundering as a forest fire, can serve a bigger purpose in the unfolding of this Taurus and Uranus journey that began about 7 years ago. Now, in the backdrop of this Scorpio full moon, we have yet another T-square aspect between Mars, who would be the traditional ruler of this full moon, and Pluto, who would be the modern ruler of this full moon, both putting pressure on Venus in Aries. And Venus, well, she's at 7 degrees now, which is 3 degrees shy of leaving her post-retrograde shadow period. So this story that's come to a culmination for the Scorpio full moon for each of us is likely to be one that is not brand new to us. The issues that we are facing are familiar, they're cyclical, or they are patterned. Whatever we're being invited to release at this full moon is something that we've likely carried with us for a while now. So it's worth asking ourselves if it's been a net positive or a net negative to continue to carry it, or if we're better off without it. This is kind of where the tarot comes in, I think, as far as that Six of Swords card that I mentioned at the start of this episode. Now, historically, I haven't gone through to highlight potential themes around how the new or full moons are impacting each rising sign, but in the spirit of innovation, very Uranus and Taurus, and in the spirit of experimentation, very Pluto and Aquarius, I thought, you know what? We're flying solo today. There are no rules. So let's switch things up and let's do just that. So, starting with Aries Rising. This full moon highlights emotional entanglements, including debts of both the emotional and financial nature, and intimacy, of course, because this full moon for an Aries rising is occurring in your 8th house. So something hidden may be coming to light at this time, inviting you to release control or dependency and lean into trust or transformation. Be cautious of power dynamics, especially having to do with lust, money, or other resources, and ask yourself what in those arenas might serve you to release or transform it, which, if you haven't caught on, seems to be a theme for this lunation. For our Taurus risings, the Scorpio full moon will land in your relationship sector in the 7th house. It will be shedding light on a dynamic with a partner or a close collaborator. And with the Sun and Uranus in your sign of Taurus, you may be choosing personal freedom over old relationship patterns, realizing that the way you've always done things in your relationships may not be the best way forward after all. This full moon is a chance to choose change by changing what, or maybe even who, it is that you're choosing. For Gemini rising, this full moon is taking place in your 6th house, emphasizing your health, work, and daily routines. Something that you've been ignoring or enduring could reach a tipping point at this time. A job situation or a pattern of burnout may need to be released in order to make room for more sustainable systems and rituals to carve new pathways of possibility. Coworkers may be a catalyst for necessary shifts that will help you restructure the little details that ultimately build out the bigger picture of what supports or deteriorates your health in the long term. For Cancer rising, matters of the heart are coming into focus. Romance, creative pursuits, or children may bring an emotional revelation or closure as this full moon is occurring in your 5th house. You're being encouraged to express yourself more vulnerably, even if it means letting go of perfection or a fear of being seen. With the recent Mars retrograde in Cancer, this full moon is a perfect time to reflect on what the last several months have shown you in terms of what your life requires movement in order for you to feel inspired, creative, and soulfully alive. So Cancer risings, it is a little bit of a come out of your shell moment with this full moon in Scorpio. For Leo rising, the full moon in your 4th house shines a light on your home, family, parents, or ancestry. You may be changing your living situation or embracing some sort of recent change that impacted your home life. You might be healing a generational wound or redefining what safety and security really means to you in practice. Take some time on this full moon to tend to your forever home in this lifetime, your own heart, body, spirit, and mind, nourishing yourself first, and then considering what clutter is needing to be cleared from your home in whichever form you interpret home to mean. For Virgo rising, realizations might be coming through your siblings, neighbors, or your daily communication patterns as this full moon is shining on your third house. It's a perfect time to spring clean your inbox, disengage with criticism or gossip, and release any desire for perfection in your communication. Because clarity requires courage, and no one is going to write your life book for you. So say what you need to say, even if it's just spoken into a mirror for now. This is an especially powerful time for journaling as well, especially for my Virgo risings. And I say my Virgo risings because I tend to collect them. I am surrounded by them. There is just something about Virgo rising people that clicks for me. I just couldn't explain it, but that's why I say my. On to the next. For Libra rising, your values, self-worth, or finances are what's being illuminated by this full moon in your second house. An income stream may be coming to an end, or a belief about your worth may be ready to be shed, allowing more aligned resources or investments to come in. This is a good time to double check your spreadsheets, send out any overdue payments or invoices, and if you haven't yet, go file those taxes and relieve yourself of the anxiety that feeds off of procrastination if you've been stalling out on tracking where your money is actually going. Ask yourself, what is your peace worth? And proceed once you've heard your own answer. And also with the second house, it's a good time to practice affirmations, reaffirming to yourself that you are wildly worthy. For Scorpio rising, this full moon is, of course, about you to some degree because it's happening in your sign and it's bringing with it a powerful opportunity to shift your identity, to release any heavy emotions or shed an old version of yourself in order to create space for the next version of you to come into view. Something big may end or be clarified. Your truth is louder now, even if it's uncomfortable to confront it or to share it. Step forward boldly into the moonlight and trust that you are intuitively guided, and your authenticity is a gift for anyone to behold. For Sagittarius rising, with the full moon in your 12th house, secrets, subconscious patterns, or spiritual themes rise to the surface. This is a private, healing lunation that may require solitude or rest to fully process. Don't ignore what your intuition is trying to tell you. An ending is near, and what awaits you on the other side is unknown, yes, but it is also ripe with limitless possibility, just like you are. Remember that thoughts become things, and tending to your internal world with compassion is the best strategy for shifting your external world to become more peaceful and soul-centered. For Capricorn rising, a friendship, group affiliation, or long-term dream may come to a head with the full moon in your 11th house. This is a great time to clarify which communities actually support your growth and release dynamics where you're overgiving or underseen. Hit the unfollow, mute, or block anyone or anything that no longer aligns with your vision of the future. Remember that you will not miss that which is not meant for you, and that which is will always find a way to boomerang back. For Aquarius rising, a career decision, leadership role, or public-facing identity may reach a turning point with the full moon in your 10th house. If you've outgrown a professional title or job structure, this is your chance to start thinking about what letting it go and claiming a more aligned direction could look like. So you want to consider, how are you actually feeling about the way that you're being perceived in your job or out in the world? So this is about your reputation, your public image, and whether or not that's aligned with who you really are and what you want to be known and valued for. Now, with Pluto making its double-decade journey through your first house, because you're an Aquarius rising, right? over the next 2 decades, it's very likely that you're going to be shifting your identity in big, big ways over the next several years. And your job and the work that you're doing in the world can be an incredible vehicle to help that growth or completely stunt it. If you choose to stay where you're comfortable, where it's familiar, I got a degree in this, so I need to stay here. It's like, do you though? Do you? Because I tell you, I have a degree. I don't use that degree. Let's be honest. Shout out to all the people listening right now who have a degree who don't use it. And I say that kind of lightly because, like, do I use my degree? Like, yeah, I gained skills, like life skills, people skills, email inbox skills. Like, there are things I gained from college, don't get me wrong. However, my degree, no one's ever asked to look at it. No one gives a fuck, right? Like, unless you're going to be a surgeon, I don't think you necessarily always need that, right? So don't let the boxes that society has created and told you to go sit in be what you fucking sink in. If it is not setting your soul on fire, you're an Aquarius Rising. Go be fucking weird about it. Go do something odd. Go walk the seen path. Create a path where there is none. That's Aquarius Rising magic. Go get that bag. It's in your 10th house. This full moon is about your career. Last but never least, we have our Pisces Rising, who have this full moon occurring in your 9th house, bringing about realizations involving travel, belief systems, religion, and or higher education. It is a great time to release any outdated philosophies or stories and open up to a more expansive, soul-aligned truth of how you want to live your life. The trip that you want to take, start that vision board for it now on the Scorpio full moon and let your ideas run wild, knowing that the journey that awaits you already exists within you. You're the destination, babe. I'm going to say it again. You are the destination. You are the vacation. It is within you. So dream it up big because you're a Pisces rising and that's what you do. And it's beautiful. And with all of that said, that is all 12 signs. You'll have to let me know if you enjoyed this sign by sign breakdown for the Scorpio full moon. And maybe we'll do it again or make it a regular thing. Or it'll maybe fade into the past and we'll never do it again. I don't know. You'll have to let me know. Should we keep doing this? Feedback's always welcome. Now, I know it's not perfectly halfway through the month of May, but I thought it would be a great note to end this episode on, talking about the Sun Uranus Cazimi in Taurus, which is going to be at 27 degrees on Saturday, May 17th. So if the Scorpio full moon didn't bring about a jolt of radical clarity, then this Sun-Uranus connection may be the messenger that does just that. This is going to be a great day and really a great weekend for receiving cosmic downloads and realizations around freedom, values, innovation, and security. Because we're talking about Uranus and we're talking about Taurus here. And Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018, shaking up what we value, how we connect to our resources, and how we care for the earth and for our bodies. But this Cazimi also offers a flash of insight, a new vision for where we're headed as we get ready for Uranus to enter Gemini, which will be happening in July of 2025. So this is actually the final Sun-Uranus Cazimi in Taurus in our lifetimes. Unless we become cyborgs and live much, much longer, in which case I will happily feed those words to the AI version of me that's still alive 100 years from now. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My hot take for this Uranus Sun Cazimi in Taurus is to embrace the disruption, to see through the chaos with that Tauresian calm and find the roots of your resources. Because here's the reality, especially for folks here in the United States, of what the fuck is going on here. I mean, literally, what the fuck, right? Shelves are going to start emptying out. That's where we're at right now. The supply chains, they're being rebuilt and they are being wildly disrupted. It's not just a stock market crash. It's not just a recession. It is a game of power and control that's going on the world stage right now. And it's crazy, right? I'd say grab your popcorn, but you'll have to find your popcorn to grab it. I think the popcorn's going to be fine, guys, but other things are going to be missing in action. And we're going to be identifying what are the things that we've been resourcing outside of ourselves, outside of our neighborhoods and our immediate communities, and thinking about how can we resource ourselves differently. Resources, Taurus, differently, Uranus. Thinking about how can we make better use of what we already have and what are our visions for the future if we reimagine our relationships with nature and natural resources and communities. What would it look like if we came together with our neighbors, if we came together with people that are closer to us while at the same time doing the human thing and giving a fuck about the people who live nowhere near us at the same time, which I know is a little bit of a whiplash and a little bit overwhelming. And there is such a thing as compassion fatigue. Google it, compassion fatigue. It exists. And a lot of people are suffering from it right now and don't know it. And sometimes having the language can help us kind of just process it better, which I think is why maybe that's coming up for me to share right now. But all of that being said, change is here now. So choose it with eyes courageously open rather than with eyes shuttered with fear. That is the message of this final Sun Uranus Cazimi in beautiful, earthy, grounded Taurus. So to tie it all back to the tarot from the start of this episode, we are collectively moving through the Page of Wands energy of really thinking about how are we utilizing our 24 hours that we have in every day. Are we staying focused on what really matters the most? Can we be courageously curious? And then with the attention thorns of the Six of Swords, really allowing endings to be endings, but keeping in mind that they are always beginnings in disguise. And so to let go of what no longer serves you is always going to be wisdom worth following. With the root, the basis of the Eight of Wands, we are also just letting things go as fast as they need to go and being along for the ride without fear, without clinging to what was. There's a lot of releasing happening with this first couple of weeks and also really with the whole month of May. And then last, with that Page of Cups, bringing back into the forefront that there is a big theme of learning, of trying, of doing things a little bit differently, of allowing ourselves to be creative, to be playful, to be goofy, to find places to enjoy ourselves even when you're somewhere not enjoyable, like the DMV, which, it's May now, so maybe this is a good time to mention the real ID. I'm so sorry if you're one of those people who does not want to hear that. I get it. I also don't like playing by the rules of the game. But yeah, if you need to get your real ID, here's your reminder, because I think it's May 7th or something that you can't fly without you. If you have a passport, you'll be okay. But if you're like me, it might be expiring soon. So anyways, I digress. That is a quick tie-in of the tarot for this episode. And I'll end on a note of gratitude. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and your life to listen to what I have to say about the transits and the tarot and all the magic and madness happening on the world stage, personally, collectively. It's pretty fucking wild out there right now. So try not to overstock on toilet paper. It's not COVID, but things are about to get real. It's that Cardi B song that came out during COVID. Shit is getting real. It's a little bit of that going on collectively right now. And that's okay, because we are ready. We are ready for whatever is coming. We are ready. And with that all said, thank you again for listening. If you enjoy this episode, please remember to share it with your people. Go give me a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, and I will catch you mid-month for part 2 of the May transits and tarot. See you then. Bye-bye.